I'm Helene. Hi. Welcome to Cabin Fever Crochet and Beyond. Today with Ruby's DNA results are in. Woohoo! I was excited and anxiously awaiting, so wanted to come on and share for those of you who have been following and are interested to know. Now, if you would like to play along and guess what you think Ruby's breeds are, please leave your thoughts, comments, guesses in the comment section below. Some of you have already mentioned Corgi, for example, and a couple of people besides myself, Australian cattle dog. So I'm going to let you know first what I thought that she was initially when I first got her December 19th. My first thought was, and when I saw her on the rescue page, that she is an Australian cattle dog mix. Just as she's got that muzzle, the hump in her nose. She doesn't have the Barkley marking on top of her head. What's over there, sweetie? It's very specific. Lucy has that, and our previous two Australian cattle dogs did also. But she does have some of the white, but it's different. It's not that splotch that's in the center of the crown of their head. And I'm looking at her and observing her more, and then I first thought too maybe a border collie. There are smooth coat border collies as well, and then the sable and the red ones too, and different traits from what I've known of border collies. And many years ago we had one named Molly, and she was a border collie McNab, and McNab is an offshoot of border collie. They're more rare and they're bred in Northern California, but that is a thing. And so she was a smooth coat, and certain facial expressions and just kind of her temperament. And so she reminded me a little bit of her. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe there's a little Sheltie. So soon after we got her, I was so curious, I started researching different breed combinations I thought she might be. And I took a screenshot of this photo that popped up because I could not believe the similarities of this Australian cattle dog and Sheltie mix. So those are kind of the three that I kicked around. And then looking at her more, and certain things about her jawline reminded me every once in a while a little bit of a pit bull terrier. So, and then I thought, well, maybe Corgi, but has long legs, long lanky legs. She doesn't have the short legs, which is a very dominant trait of the Corgis, even though there are long-legged Corgis in the past, and those were the Corgis before the short-legged became the recognized. I thought maybe it was a throwback, you know how you have like recessed genes from grandparents, great-grandparents that can come through even in humans. So I thought maybe that was a possibility. And my husband threw out terrier and Chihuahua. I'm thinking, really, Chihuahua? Okay. So the rescue people and the foster thought maybe Shibu Inu, Corgi, and Husky. And I also thought a little bit of Husky too, because of the markings on her face and her hind legs. They're longer and higher, and the shape of them too, and the way she stands. So I thought, is that a possibility? I don't know. But it kind of threw me because she does not have that double undercoat typical with Australian cattle dogs and Huskies. So the results are in, and 34%, ready? Australian cattle dog. Ding! 22% border collie. So 56% make up the two. Australian cattle dog, border collie. She has 12% German shepherd, 2% collie. And so she actually has a total of 13 breeds. So we were all had a little bit of that in there. But I'll tell you about the rest. I'm just so happy with the results, so happy with them, not because I was right, on the two main ones and then whatever else, but because it validated what I've been observing, what I thought when I first saw her, and then since then, based on her looks and her personality traits, behaviors, those kinds of things. Okay, so for the rest, she's 8% American Pit Bull Terrier, 5% Staffordshire Terrier, that's a hard one to say, 1% Doberman, 5% Alaskan Malamute, 3% Samoyed, 2% Siberian Husky, and 2% Chow. Oh yeah, two more. 2% Chihuahua, there you go, and 2% Labrador. So it's very interesting, I thought, and it was worth it. It was worth doing it. Now her parents, it shows her parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, and her parents are most likely, so this is what her lineage was, an example of what her lineage could be, okay? So parents, Australian Cattle Dog mix, Border Collie mix, and German Shepherd mix, and that is both her male and female parent. Her grandparents, and it doesn't say, let's see, which it would be on the paternal or maternal side. Grandparents, Australian Cattle Dog mix, again, Border Collie and German Shepherd mix, and that's on both sides of the family for the great-grandparents. So definitely the Australian Cattle Dog, Border Collie, and then the 12% German Shepherd seems to be the dominating breeds here and the theme going. All right, so now getting into the great-grandparents, okay? On the two sets, so we have 4 now going into great-grandparents. So the 2 sets from, what do you have? All right, so again, I don't know if this is on the maternal, but we'll just pick on one side. There's Australian Cattle Dog with an Australian Cattle Dog mix, great-grandparents, and then a Border Collie mix with a German Shepherd mix. Then on the other side, say the first one, we'll just say, call it female, and then the second male, Australian, again, same thing, Australian Cattle Dog mix with an Australian Cattle Dog, and yeah, both the same, Border Collie mix and German Shepherd mix. So, yeah, and then the others would just go into the more farther lineage, great-grandparents, and so forth and down the line. What is it? Those would be more of the recessed genes. She is just hilarious. I told you before, she's super mouthy, like biter, and a nipper. And that is both traits of the Australian Cattle Dog and the Border Collies. Border Collies are super nippy. They're because they're herding dogs, and they nip like the Australian cattle. Obviously, they're to herd cattle, and they would get down low and nip them in their heels to keep them in line. And every one that we've had does that, would follow us down the hallway, just nip to keep us going. And so she has that, and I have been working with her on the no bite because she gets so excited sometimes she doesn't realize it and she bites too hard, and that I have found out is a Border Collie trait. So now she has self-corrected, and she will go up to me and she'll just put her top and bottom teeth together and go nibble, kind of like if you're eating corn on the cob, but in cartoon style where it's zip, and she does that with her teeth, and she pinches accidentally, especially if she gets me, ouch, underneath my arm, that tricep and that soft part there, ow, that hurts. But it's pretty funny to see her do that. It just looks like she's gnawing on a piece of corn. And now I come to find out that after doing more research, after getting this on the border collies, that they can be rather real wary, leery of strangers, for sure. That's with her. Or really loud bass sounds, deep, like thunder, or a motorcycle. Now, I don't know if it's solely the motorcycle that upset her, or if there's a connection to her fear specifically of men, or if that's just inherent in her trait, or because of where she came from, if she lived a more isolated life. I don't know. She came from, for those of you who haven't watched, you can go back, like I said, to my first for more detail, but she was turned in from a woman who lived in a camper. And I'm not knocking camper life. I mean, a person has to live somewhere, and with the shortage of affordable housing in general, it's so expensive. I mean, if that's what a person has to do, that's what they have to do. But for a herding dog and a real high energy dog like the Australian cattle dogs and the border collies, they need to run and room to run and a job to do. Otherwise, it will get frustrated and can have behavioral problems and be pretty destructive. So they need exercise, they need interactive games and toys and challenges to challenge their mind and keep them busy and mentally, and wear them out physically too. So I don't know, like her previous person, her lifestyle, if she might have taken her for 5 walks a day for all I know, but living in a camper in the middle of winter and when it's harder to get out and do stuff, that's pretty tough, for anyone, let alone with a breed like this. And probably why a lot of them wind up in shelters. So it was really good of her. I really commend her for, sadly, for her turning Ruby in to give her more the kind of environment that this type of dog needs. But mostly she did that because she could no longer afford to feed Ruby and the cat that she was with, which I thought was especially sad. So anyway, so that's that part. But how I got into that, I don't know, like, what her situation was as far as the people that she was around, if her fear of men in particular comes from the natural instinct of being wary of strangers, and maybe if a man is boisterous or loud or just loud or has a real deep loud voice, maybe that's all it takes to do it. But one day, not that long ago, we were driving home from Spokane, the city. It's a bit of a distance, okay? And then we're out of the city and we're on the long stretch and we're getting rural now. And there's a motorcycle. I could hear it, and it was a large one, and it was really loud, and it was a little ways behind us. I don't know, maybe probably less than a quarter of a mile. And so she jumps from the back seat of the car into the back hatch part, and she's got her face practically glued to that back hatch window that pops up. It's an SUV, so she has her face glued to that, and she's staring. And as that motorcycle gets a little closer, she just went ballistic, growling and barking and so upset. So was it the sound, or did she have a previous experience with someone on a motorcycle that was a man that gave her reason to be so fearful? I don't know. But she was hyper-focused on that motorcycle, and then he passed us, and she just followed him and came around and jumped to the back seat and then watched and then And then as he got in front of me, she just looked straight through that windshield and fixated, watching him until she could no longer see him up ahead. That was something else. And that hyperfocus and that intense stare, that's a border collie trait too, and they do that when they are working sheep. We're bred to be sheep herders. And again, years ago, for 3 of our dogs, actually, when we lived on the central coast of California, it was rural there, and the person I went to for dog obedience school, she had a small ranch, and she had 5 maybe border collies, and she had sheep, and they were working dogs, and they were amazing, the training and how brilliant they are, and the way they would just be so focused on her. But yeah, so it was neat getting to see them work a little bit too. Oh, and I've been teaching her to give me kisses. And so, and when you give someone a kiss, you're like basically kind of pushing into them. So I kiss her on the head, right, like that. So instead of your typical dog lick, she pushes her mouth into me. She gives me a kiss and goes, boop, boop, don't ya? I thought that was so cute. So she's copying me. So I thought, oh, I wonder what else I could teach her to do. And that was kind of by osmosis. I wasn't expecting that. Sometimes she'll add a little lick to it though, but not typically. She's not a big licker. And the floofies growing out from her neck, that I call them, the fluff that sticks straight out from about the little bit below her ear down to her neck. So when we first got her, and I showed the pictures in my previous video, I mean, they were sticking out really far, and then maybe early-ish mid-March, she shed them all and she got real smooth, and I loved it so much. And I just wasn't sure where that came from, and I thought, okay, could there be a little corgi in there? And I saw that border collies, kind of have that fur, and of course the purebreds, it's real full around there. So yeah, I think that is where that she gets those, and they're coming back. I don't know if you noticed that at the beginning, but here, let me bring her up so you can see. They're growing back just a little bit. Come here, sweetheart. You want to get them up here? Oh, there you go, baby. Look, they're coming back just a little, just a touch on the side, more than the last video. I think they're so cute. My husband calls them her summer sprouts. Yeah, just a little floofy girl. She's just so amazing. Just so amazing. Oh yeah, and she's a digger. She's escaped out of, we have a large fenced area over there for the dogs to go potty or, whatever, hang out. Oh, I told you before, she lets me know when one of the other dogs wants to come in. Now she lets me know when the cats want in, if they're at one of the sliding glass doors, or just earlier today when we got home, she scratched to go out back, and I thought, well, I just let you out. I said, you need to go in the pen, potty, and she's like frantically at that sliding glass door that leads into it. And I open the door and go out there, and Callie, our calico cat, got stuck inside of it. So she let me know she needed to come out. Then a couple minutes later, she goes out to the door that leads to the back, and Sunny, our other cat, was at the back door wanting to come in. Super smart. I hope you found it fun and interesting too, and all the little things that we're learning about her. I'm going to say a toodaloo for now, okay? And I will see you again soon. Alrighty, bye.